Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, and welcome to Rottnest, Wajima. And more importantly, I hope you are all having a great time, even with the small amount of rain that we've brought during the last couple of days. But just think about the quokkas. They love the water, and when they see it, they come out and you can enjoy their smiles. I'd like to give respect to the Wadjuk people and the land upon which we are privileged to walk, and can also recognise this sense of place for the spirits that have protected me and my family during my time as CEO of this wonderful island. The theme of my presentation is sustainable management of islands, Rotto style, as I'm going to refer to it as. While I cannot profess to be an authority on all issues that impact on sustainable island management, I'm very happy to provide an insight based on experience and, more importantly, on trial and error. This right. I'm very proud and confident to say that Rottnest Island is Western Australia's #1 tourism destination. There are not many islands that I can say that about. However, I am sure that Christmas Island will certainly become very close to us in the near future. Rottnest Island is a state government-owned and managed agency, and I lead off by that because with that comes a whole range of things that will probably be seen as we progress through the presentation. It is self-funded and is required to manage its operations in a sustainable and cost-neutral, no-loss basis. The measure of success will be how we achieve this whilst balancing the forces of evil, environment, economy and the community. Sorry, did I say evil? I really mean challenges, but at times they are a necessary evil. Under the Rottnest Island Authorities Act, we focus on people, planet and profit, and they are measures that will impact on our success and failure. If we do it well, we do it well. If we do it badly, at times we do it badly. Since 2005, the RIA has maintained that focus and achieved success and recognition in delivering a balanced approach to the community, the economy and the environment, but not without its challenges, in particular when running a government-owned island. You need to read the fine print. The fine print interestingly started with Rottnest Island 98 years ago, with the establishment of an A-class reserve, which is interesting in the sense that there are a number of A-class reserves, and for my DPAW colleagues here, it's always been an issue that we have a national park system and we have an A-class reserve system. And until recently, the two did not speak. But we have a very strong relationship now, which enables us to understand that we're in the same sectors. For my sins in the last 10 years, we have increased our challenges, but at the same time we continue to be true to our focus on ensuring sustainable management with a sustainable environment. And what I meant by over the last 10 years, we've increased our requirements to be a better island, a more sustainable island. But with that becomes a lot of issues relating to the rigour of fulfilling our wish to become what we want to become. But as with any commercial business, you need a plan. And Rottnest Island has a plan. And by legislation, every 5 years we must produce a plan. And in 2014, the RIA released not only a 5-year plan, but lifted the bar and delivered for the first time a 20-year vision, together with cultural landscape management plan, a terrestrial management strategy, and last night, the Rottnest Island Conservation Action Plan. A lot of plans, and one might say, bureaucracy gone mad. I explain it's not the case. Each plan feeds off the other, and they form the basis of our strategic sustainable management implementation. They are the truth test, the litmus test, and they are don't get in my way test. We are on a mission to fulfil a dream. In short, they are door stoppers, but not in the way you think. They are in fact plans that keep the doors open for us. With plans in the government environment, we have a determined pathway, and we can deliver on that, and we get very little interference at times from that process. I will now go through very quickly some specific principles that impact on the management of our island, highlighting that delivering on these principles are the basis for the success or failure of how we end up at the other end. In terms of healthy and happy, 2.2 million people have a love-hate relationship with Rottnest Island. For those that are not West Australians and are from an international perspective, I'm sure you have something similar in your country. In Western Australia, we're not a country, we're a state, but everybody owns Rottnest Island. Whether they love it or hate it, or whether they've even visited, they have a point of view. 585,000 love it and return here every year, sometimes more than once a year. Over 185 boaties love it and come at the best time of the year, primarily our summer period. We're trying to draw them back at other times. And there are a handful, and some of them will appear next week, there are a handful, not many, that are sent home unexpectedly throughout the year. Managing the expectation of visitors against the backdrop of an A-class reserve is always a challenge, but through community integration and education, those challenges can be overcome. Rottnest Island Authority, together with the police, have a very strong antisocial approach. Respect others, which will be tested again next week with the arrival of over 1,200 school leavers to the island. So if you're not here next week, you won't miss too much. However, with the growth and the popularity of our beautiful cuddly quokka, and I'm sure you've seen it is a cuddly animal, does pose more challenges. It has become an international symbol, our smiling quokka. And many people arrive, particularly international tourists, who'd love to have a photograph with the quokka. And we say, shoot away, but refrain from touching the animal, and it doesn't need your germs. Interestingly, I've got just as many dugongs on the island, and nobody wants a selfie with them. The other part is equitable and fair. I'm sure all businesses have codes of practices, or a plan of some sort which keeps them in check. The RIA has an Act of Parliament, and it takes no prisoners. Our charter is clear, and together with the Rottnest Island Management Plan, the RIA is an equitable, fair and transparent organisation. If I can just point out and recount for you the introduction that I had to the transparency issue when I first arrived on Rottnest Island in 2004. And I arrived at a time when there were lots of things happening on Rottnest Island which were, to say the least, unusual. But in 2004, the RIA at that time ran a ballot. A ballot is where if you want to book for Christmas, you have to put your name into a ballot. And then the computer runs it and you get allocated. Very popular, also quite problematic, because we only had five applications for one spot. So it was always competitive. My commercial manager at the time walks in to me to say, Paolo, you have a ballot problem? It did not include 75 applications when he went live at midnight, because we run the ballot at midnight. And he said, no problem, Paolo, I'll fix it. And I said, no, you won't fix it, rerun the ballot. To which he looked at me and says, do you really know what you're doing? And says, run the ballot. It's a lottery. You can't just fix it. So anyway, the ballot was rerun, and those previously successful, which were around about 75, unfortunately missed out on the second round of the ballot. And this was my first and major learning curve. The West Australian newspaper, page 2, the following day, 75 homeless. Who said honesty is the best policy? I do, and the manager no longer works for us. Rottnest Island is Australia's largest burial ground for Indigenous people. It has a burial site with over 400 graves that has taken over 100 years to respect, and this occurred last week when we completed the first stage. 100 years, we completed it last week. I am both proud and embarrassed that it took so long. I will say no more but ask you to pay respect and visit during your stay. The spirits will protect you as they have me. These principles will, I believe, provide the RIA with its greatest growth in the future of sustainable management, and in particular by engaging the community, both on the island and off the island, and engaging the community that has an interest in Rottnest Island that needs to be addressed, and that's the Aboriginal community. Yesterday I launched our Conservation Action Plan, and I will not revisit the detail, and Shane provided that yesterday, and I hope that you all got a copy. But the sustainable management of land use and wildlife will, I believe, benchmark Rottnest Island as delivering on the plan is critical to us protecting this island. The challenge for the RA has been, and will continue to be, balancing environment, the economy and the community, with the realisation that investment by us and others in this area will sustain the rest of the island and will sustain our future. Water sensitivity. We are now entering into one of the RA's greatest challenges, and I assume also for islands in general. When it comes to sustainable management, water sensitivity and management of the island's utilities is on top of the list. With the decision to reduce our freshwater abstraction now down to less than 20%, water supply to Rottnest Island is totally achieved using 3 desalination seabore production plants, capable of producing 750,000 litres of potable water per day. This production is powered by Rottnest Island's Abbott wind turbine, which I'm going to call in the future, which is currently producing 30% of the island's energy needs. With the construction of a new wastewater treatment plant, the use of irrigation water will be replaced with recycled water for public grassed areas, including the golf course. And today, we are all excited, particularly my General Manager, Andy, that finally the state government, together with federal government and Hydro Tasmania, we have announced with ARENA funding and funding from state government, Rottnest Island is going to be in the field of renewables, and over time become the benchmark for island renewables into the future. The first stage of this is a $7.3 million project, will be the establishment of a 650 kilowatt solar farm, which will be integrated with the existing 600 kilowatt wind turbine by adopting advanced control systems that will allow the introduction of additional future renewables, including wave energy. All this, together with improved efficiencies, increased tree planting, will see Rottnest Island continue to reduce its carbon emissions. This is a major milestone in Rottnest Island's history, which together with our zero waste to landfill, brings us to a realisation that maybe we can meet this challenge head on and win. Sustainable management of Rottnest Island is a challenge, in that it is never one thing, but a multitude of different elements that requires constant monitoring and adjustment with the occasional let's do it attitude. As CEO, it's an impossible task for me to understand how an island should be run. I'm fortunate that I am not alone, and like a quarterback in an NFL team, I have a very strong team around me. As I've said, often feed the information to me, and that's what I get, and then we make decisions. But there are multiple elements in this island, and I assume in other islands, that are constantly being juggled. Because when it's all reduced down to one thing, it is about our invited guests to this island. It is our responsibility to sustainably manage the island for our current generation and our future generations. So we invite people to come. If you invite them to come, you have to look after them, which I hope we've done with you today as well, over the last 3 days. I would now just like to show you a short video that will bring us back to that one thing, and I'll come back and conclude. So in concluding, I just sort of state that Indigenous people have managed Wodjuma for over 20,000 years. Let's hope that I don't stuff it up on my watch. Thank you.